Have you ever noticed how your mind goes completely silent in moments of genuine surprise? Something catches you off guard, or you witness something totally unexpected. And for just a second, the mental chatter stops entirely. Then it comes rushing back. What if I told you that silence is always there? The noise isn't actually coming from your mind. It's coming from something much simpler that you're doing without realizing it. You're about to discover what actually creates mental noise and how to turn it off, like flipping a switch. Because the answer isn't what anyone has taught you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the single source of all mental noise and why you've never been able to quiet it before. This isn't about discipline or practice. It's about seeing something you've been doing your whole life that you never identified as the problem. Because once you identify it, stopping becomes effortless, and the silence is instant. Here's what most people don't realize. Mental noise isn't thoughts. You think it is, but it's not. Thoughts are just thoughts. They come and go naturally, like breathing. Mental noise is something you add to thoughts, and most people don't even know they're adding it. And here's where it gets fascinating. Mental noise is the internal conversation you have about your thoughts. It's the commentary on the commentary, the second voice that talks about the first voice. A thought appears. I have a lot to do today. That's just a thought. But then another voice jumps in. Why do I always have so much to do? Other people don't seem this busy. I need to get better at managing my time. What's wrong with me? That's the noise. That's what makes your mind feel loud and exhausting. Most people think they have a thinking problem, but they don't. They have a talking to themselves about their thinking problem. They narrate every thought that appears. They judge it, analyze it, question it, expand on it, worry about it. And that internal dialogue never stops because they don't even realize they're doing it. Think about it. When your mind feels loud, it's not because you have too many thoughts. It's because you're having conversations with yourself about those thoughts. You're debating with yourself, explaining things to yourself, convincing yourself of things. There's this constant internal back and forth that never reaches a conclusion because there's nobody else there to respond. This is the invisible habit that creates all mental noise. You're literally talking to yourself. And you've been doing it so long, you think it's normal. You think that's just what minds do. But it's not. It's what you're making your mind do. And here's what changes everything. The moment you stop talking to yourself, your mind goes silent. If you're still here, something is clicking. Most people will dismiss this because they're so identified with that internal dialogue. They can't imagine life without it. But you're different. You're recognizing the pattern. What I'm about to share next will show you exactly how to catch yourself in the act and stop it instantly. This is the breakthrough moment. If this is resonating with you, please subscribe. Here's the thing about this internal dialogue. It happens so automatically, you don't realize you're choosing it. but you are. Every internal conversation is something you're actively doing, even though it feels like it's just happening to you. Let me break this down into 3 types of internal dialogue. First, there's problem-solving dialogue. This is when you're actually working through something. If I do this, then that happens. But if I do that instead, this type serves a purpose. It's functional. And when you reach a conclusion, it naturally stops. Second, there's rehearsal dialogue. This is when you're preparing for something, imagining conversations you might have, planning what you'll say, thinking through scenarios. This can be useful in small doses, but most people do it excessively, rehearsing things that never happen. And third, there's commentary dialogue. This is the noise. This is when you're just talking to yourself for no functional reason. Narrating what you're doing, judging what you're thinking, explaining things to yourself that you already understand. This type serves no purpose. It's pure habit, and it never stops unless you consciously stop it. Here's what most people miss. They think all 3 types are the same. They think it's all just thinking, but it's not. The first type is useful thinking. The second type is occasionally useful. The third type is mental noise masquerading as thinking. When you learn to distinguish between them, something remarkable happens. You can keep the first type, reduce the second type, and eliminate the third type entirely. And that third type, that's what makes your mind feel exhausting. That's the noise. And it disappears the moment you recognize it and choose to stop participating in it. Right now, stop and listen. Is there internal dialogue happening right now? A voice commenting on what I'm saying? Maybe agreeing, disagreeing, or explaining it to yourself? Notice that voice. Really hear it. That's not thinking. That's you talking to yourself. And here's the key question. What happens if you just stop talking? What if you hear the next sentence without internally commenting on it? Try it now. Just listen without the internal dialogue. Notice how much quieter everything feels. Most people never realize they're in control of this. They think the internal dialogue just happens, but it doesn't. You're actively creating it, sentence by sentence, thought by thought. It's something you're doing, not something being done to you. Here's what's interesting. When you talk out loud to someone, you know you're doing it. You can stop mid-sentence if you want. You have that control. The internal dialogue is exactly the same. You're forming sentences in your mind. You're choosing words. You're directing the conversation. You just don't realize you're doing it because you've done it automatically for so long. But the moment you see that you're the one doing it, you can stop. Not through effort, through recognition. You can't fight your way to a quiet mind, but you can see that you're creating the noise and simply stop creating it. And here's what's beautiful. When you stop the internal dialogue, what remains isn't emptiness. It's presence. It's direct experience. It's you actually here, actually experiencing life without constantly narrating it to yourself. That's what a quiet mind actually is. So how do you actually do this? It's simpler than anything you've tried before, but it requires awareness. Throughout your day, start catching the internal dialogue, not to judge it, just to notice it's happening. You'll be amazed how constant it is. You're probably doing it right now, internally, commenting on what I'm saying. Here's the practice that changes everything. First, identify it when it starts. The internal dialogue has a distinct feeling. It's like you're talking to an audience inside your head, explaining things, justifying things, commenting on things. The moment you recognize, oh, I'm talking to myself right now, you've created a gap. And in that gap, you have a choice. Second, simply stop mid-sentence. You don't need to understand why you're doing it. You don't need to process it or figure it out. Just stop. Stop forming sentences in your mind. Stop the internal conversation. Cut it off wherever it is. Third, rest in the silence that follows. For a moment, maybe just a few seconds at first, there's no dialogue. There's just awareness. Just you, being here, without narrating it. That's the natural state of a quiet mind. It's not empty. It's just not talking to itself. You'll be tempted to fill that silence immediately with more dialogue. Don't. Just let it be. The more you practice this stopping, the more natural it becomes. The silence lasts longer. The internal dialogue loses its automatic quality. Do this consistently, and you'll discover something shocking. You were creating the mental noise all along. It wasn't happening to you. You were doing it. And now that you see it, you can stop doing it. The quiet mind you've been searching for isn't something you need to achieve. It's what's here when you stop talking to yourself. Over the next few days, you'll start catching yourself talking to yourself dozens, maybe hundreds of times. And each time, you'll have the choice to stop. The first few times might feel strange. Silence can feel uncomfortable when you're used to constant internal chatter. But keep choosing it. Within a week, you'll notice the internal dialogue losing its grip. It won't start as automatically. And when it does start, you'll catch it faster. You're not building a skill. You're breaking a habit. And every time you stop, the habit weakens. If this resonates with you, you're exactly who this channel is for. People who are ready to see through the patterns that create mental suffering and step into genuine peace. If you found value in this, subscribe to join others who are choosing clarity over confusion. Hit that like button if this gave you a breakthrough. And drop a comment sharing what you noticed about your internal dialogue when you started paying attention to it. The quiet mind isn't something you find. It's what remains when you stop creating noise.